Hi everybody, Mrs. Francis here, and this course is about brush lettering. In this video, I'll be demonstrating brush lettering, which is a style of writing similar to calligraphy. This short course will teach you all the tips you need to successfully create your own brush lettering works of art. And I just want to preface this by saying I have absolutely no training on this topic. I am not an expert in any way, shape, or form. I just purely do this for fun. And the only way I've learned was by watching YouTube videos myself. So I just want to be really clear about that. There are many ways to approach this, but this is just my experience and something that I really enjoy doing. Okay, so first of all, before we really get into it, why be creative? Research has shown that creating art decreases negative emotions, reduces stress and anxiety, and improves medical outcomes. So for me, because I'm such a worrier, when I get really involved in a project, I'm not thinking anymore about the things that were, stressing me out. So reducing your stress and anxiety for me, it's great because it does in the long run predict a longer life for you. Creativity promotes problem solving. You learn how to approach a situation from all angles. So that's just good because in life, you're always going to have obstacles and you're always going to have to find ways to work around your problems. And this just helps you learn how to do that. Creativity develops confidence. Being creative comes with a high risk of failure. You have to be vulnerable to share your art and willing to take the risk that what you create may never see the light of day. All right, so this is a big one for me, and I wish I had learned this when I was a lot younger. I always felt like there was no point unless it was something that I was going to put in a frame and hang on a wall, because you try something new for the first time and it's a disaster, and you try it again and it's a little better. But I think it's important to just be willing to fail, try again, and over time you'll get better and it will develop your confidence. And then the last one is creativity is a form of meditation. And because it really takes your mind off of everything else, and I'm not one to just sit quietly and meditate. I mean, this is a form of meditation for me. It makes me just totally focus in on whatever creative project I'm working on. If I'm creating a brush lettering design, or if I'm sewing, or if I'm out in the garden, any of those things I think are a creative process that takes your mind off of things and takes your worries away. My tips for success. Again, I'm not a professional. This is just something I do for fun, and this is what works for me. So number one thing, gather your materials. Now, you may just have some basic materials that you need that are in the house, or you can step it up and you could buy some more professional materials. I'll talk about both. You need to understand the basics. All right, I'll teach you the basics for this type of creative process. You want to line the paper. That's really important when you're doing brush lettering. Everybody wants to skip this step, but it's really important. You're going to practice. I mean, this is not going to happen overnight. It takes time and you get better with it, but it's going to take practice. You're going to pencil out your saying. You want to have a good plan, well prepared, pencil it, erase, do what you need to do. And then when you're ready, write your saying. And you're going to need to go slow. You should go the same speed the whole way through. All right, so let's talk about suggested materials. These are some of the things that I use. All right, preferably you're going to use a paper that has a very smooth surface. So in the demonstration that I do today, I actually just use printer paper because I figured that's what most people have at home. But this drawing paper here, and I have the links all below to all the materials, is really excellent. It does a really good job with watercolor paints, and everything's just really smooth. So I highly recommend that drawing pad. I absolutely love this book on Secrets of Modern Calligraphy by Kristen Burke. It's just got lots of demonstrations. It's got sayings. It's got different ways that you can do the lettering, and I really like it. I also recommend using the Tombow pens. They're the absolute best. I'm sure there's, imitations out there. They're not that expensive and they really work, really well. All All right, suggested paints and brushes. If you do want to take it to the next level and you want to do some design and some flowers or things around your lettering, there's two different kinds of paints that I've used. So I've used the Crayola watercolor paints, which is something I just had in my house when I started watercolors that, you know, my sons used 20 years ago, and it worked perfectly. Honestly, I think I like the Crayola watercolor paint better than I like the fancier paint that I got on Amazon. But as you can see, the Japanese watercolor paint set has a lot more colors and, you know, a lot more options. So whatever you like, but Crayola works perfectly fine. And then you probably want to have some good brushes. I mean, that's one of the tools that I would say if you're going to spend money on, buy good brushes, because it's really important, you know, when you're doing the brush strokes to have some control. And, you know, I think it's worth the expense. Okay, so starting off with the lettering, the one thing that you're going to really want to do before you write out any word or sentence is you're going to want to draw guidelines. So we have three guidelines that we use. The first one is the cap line. So that guiding line establishes the height for all capital letters. This guiding line establishes the height for all the lowercase letters. And then the last line is the baseline, and this is the guiding line upon which the entire word or phrase sits on. So I use a ½ inch between lines, and that seems to work really well for me. And it just keeps everything very neat and looking very professional. So it doesn't take that long to do, and it's really worth it. All right, now let's talk about the strokes that you use. We have what's called an upstroke where you use light pressure. We have a downstroke where you're really pressing the pen down or you're thickening the line if you don't have a brush pen. We have the overturn where you're doing a light pressure and then you're doing a heavy pressure down. Right? What you want to remember is every time you go down, it's heavy pressure, and every time you go up, it's light pressure. So we're going up, light, down, heavy, up, light. And then with the oval, we're going down, heavy, up, light. And if you notice, ideally, you want to try to keep all of your letters and your lines in your lettering parallel. You're going to release pressure on upstrokes to create very thin lines. You're going to apply pressure on downstrokes to create thick lines. And you're going to play with loops and flourishes once you've mastered the basics. And I'll demonstrate how to do this coming up. So here's some lettering templates that I found on the internet. They're free. You're allowed to copy them. I put the links down below. All right, those are just some suggestions on how you could do your uppercase letters and how you could do your lowercase letters. Now, if you're going to letter with watercolor, what I suggest is preferably use a heavy paper. I mean, if you don't have it, it's fine. I demonstrate in this lesson, I'm going to demonstrate with just regular printer paper. But this example I did on the heavier paper, and I think it just looks a little bit better. So I mapped out my words, then I drew in my sketch, right? And then you're going to letter. You're going to erase all the lines that you don't want to see, and then you can just go right over the words that you've used with your brush pen and just paint your picture. And I think that came out really pretty. And one of the unexpected things when you're being creative is, for example, this little bird right here just makes me so happy. I didn't expect that. I kind of drew that in, but when I look at it, it makes me feel good. So sometimes you have that little unexpected surprise that happens when you're being creative. Okay, so here's a video demonstrating how I do the brush lettering. All right, so I'm going to go over exactly how I plan to letter this drawing. And I just want to start out by saying that, of course, I did my whole drawing already in pencil. Lines here, you can see. And I also did a line right down the center So when I did my original words on the paper, I always look for the center of the sentence or the couple of words that's going to go on that line. R was the center here, so I did the R first, and then I did the letters before and after R. And I did all the words, and then I sketched out what I thought would be a pretty design around it. Now, I don't want you to think that I did this really quickly. This took time, a lot of erasing. You know, in math class, I always say there's a lot of erasing in calculus. And when you do brush lettering, there's a lot of erasing in brush lettering, right? So I'm going to go over this in pen. My plan is to use the Tombow pen to go over all the pencil lines really lightly. Then I'm going to do all the downstrokes in a brush pen, but you could just use a marker if you wanted. When I'm done with that, I will stop the video and I'm going to finish using watercolor paintings for all the decorative flowers and everything around my design. All right. Oh, and I forgot to mention that once I do pen in all my letters, then I'll erase all these little guidelines that I have for myself. All right, so here we go. You do it really gently and really slowly. And I think it's a really good idea to pick your pen up as you sort of change direction. Sort of make sure that you're really careful. And you breathe and you concentrate. And it just takes time. It takes concentration. But it feels good to do. Even with the pencil lines, you still have to go really, really slow. I even feel a little like I stop breathing. Make sure you keep breathing. And you concentrate. So this part I'm not pushing down, I'm just keeping the same weight of the pen all the way through. I'll do the pressure when I get to the color. And by the way, I decided to do this one just on regular printer paper, since that's really what most people just have around the house. Ooh, okay, so that's done. All right, so this is really more the fun part, I think, is where we do the brush pen and we do pressure on all down strokes. So I'm still gonna, mimic all the strokes, but I'm only gonna actually use the pen when I go on the downstroke. So here I'm going up, and here I'm gonna use the pen. And I'm going up, and I'm gonna do a little bit down here. I'm gonna go up, and then I'm going to go down. Here I'm going to go up, and here I'm going to go down. Go up, and down. And go up, and down. And down, up, back down, up, and down. Okay, so that looks really pretty so far, so I'm going to keep going. So I'm going a little bit down right here, up, down, up, down. up, go up. Well, it looks like I went like this with this one, so up, down, up, down. Oops, lost my concentration right there. I went up, but that's okay. Up. Okay, well, despite that little mistake, I think it looks really pretty. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to erase all these little lines here, not the drawing part, and then I'm going to do the watercolor flowers, and then I'll take a picture and upload that to the presentation so you can see the final product. So this gives you a general idea, and remember, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? I made a little mistake, but it's still okay. And I hope you learned by watching me do that. All right, guys? Okay, so here we are. We're at the before and after. So this is what the drawing looked like to start. And that's the final drawing after I erased the lines and I did a little watercolor. So I think it came out really nice. I like it. Makes me happy. Okay, some positive affirmations that you can use. Right, here's one I did in the center. It says, be happy, right? The way I came up with that technique, any kind of plastic little bag, and you take the brush pen and you write on the bag. Then you add a little water and you mush it around. And then you take that and you press it into the paper. And you get this nice watercolor background. So you can use whatever colors you want. I kind of like red, white, and blue. So I used red and blue for that design. I have You Got This. Now this design I did just with Crayola watercolor. And I really like it. I just like the simplicity of just having a couple of colors to use and the colors go on really lightly, and I really like that. This one I did using a nice heavy paper, and I did the lettering, and then I just brushed watercolor onto it when I was done. So some other positive affirmations just to give you an idea. I believe in me. I am beautiful. What I give is what I receive. I am proud of myself, and life is good. All right. So, that's it. That's everything I have. I just want to be really clear that all the materials that I used and any websites that I reference, I'm going to put in the description below. But if you enjoyed this and you learned something and you create something because of it, I would love to see it. So please email me anything you come up with. That would make me really happy. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching.